Hi there, I'm Heather, and this is my husband, Dr. Ron Llewellyn.
Welcome to Life Together.
A place where we share,
Laugh,
and try to provide helpful information on things like marriage,
relationships, mental health issues.
We've been married for 18 years.
We have 2 cats, no kids.
Yeah, so take any parenting advice with caution.
You know, in 18 years, we've been through a lot. We've learned a ton.
And we just want to share those lessons with you. So we hope you enjoy. Well, hi there again. I'm Heather. This is Ron with Life
Hello.
Together. We are back for episode 2, I guess, of our series on depression.
Well, I think it'll probably end up as episode 3. Because we're going to do psychological before biological.
I thought we were doing psychological.
I know, but it's biological, psychological, social,
I
spiritual.
see. Okay, so episode something, the psychological episode in our series on depression. So we did a little introduction last time, and now we're going to start getting into all the nitty-gritty of depression. All the fun stuff about depression.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. Ron, take it away.
Take it away.
I'll jump in when it's really inappropriate.
In the last episode I was talking about, I probably won't get too much into theory, and then I was thinking that I would need to utilize some theory to explain how to work through this. And this is done, if you go out and buy any of the workbooks, like on Amazon or any of the other places, you're going to see a lot of it is based upon a therapy called CBT, which basically stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. You might also find some stuff on REBT, which is Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. But that's a side note for clinicians that know the arguments between Beck and Ellis, which is pretty interesting. Anyways, we're going to be using CBT just for simplicity's sake. And let's quiz Heather.
Oh no.
Heather, what is a behavior?
Something that you do.
It's an action, right?
An action.
So we have cognitive behavior therapy. What's cognition?
Thinking.
Thinking. She's good. So thinking and behavior. Very basic. We need to change our thinking. We need to change our behavior to change what's going on, whether it's depression or anxiety. It's a very simple theory, actually, but yeah, which I believe, and I'll leave that alone. So let's talk theory just real quick. Throughout our life, we develop a lot of experiences, and those experiences start to tell us how we should see the world, and how we should see ourselves, and how we should see other people. So if you've lived quite a charmed life, you might look at the world differently than someone who's been abused their whole life, or felt depressed their whole life. And that accumulation of understanding about the world, ourselves, and others is what has been termed the schema. It's basically our core structure of understanding. And based upon that core structure of understanding, we learn to think in specific ways. So you'll see a worksheet up on the screen, and that green circle that you see represents the schema. The circle around it, the red circle, is what I call thought tendencies, but is typically called cognitive distortions. I call it thought tendencies because it's how we tend to think.
Okay. And
there's a lot of different thought tendencies that can develop based upon our life experiences. Some of the ones that'll probably sound very familiar, we'll add a list for you to look at as well to figure out which ones you utilize, because everybody utilizes some of them. I grew up kind of expecting disaster at certain moments, and so I developed a tendency to catastrophize. I expected something bad was going to happen at any moment because of life experience. There's others, like thinking in a very black and white manner. There's personalization, always thinking that there's something with you that's causing the problem. Yeah. So what I really would want to recommend that you do is take a look at that list that we have linked to identify what you what you think you utilize. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Kind of to see how your thought tendencies lean?
Yes. And why this is important is because those thought tendencies in our schema causes us to have what they call automatic thoughts. In any situation, we will have some sort of thought about it, whether it's a word, a sentence, an image that pops in our head, that is typically defined by our schema and our thought tendencies or our cognitive distortions. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, those thoughts may be correct or they may be incorrect. And if they're incorrect, then they're considered a distortion, and we need to modify those. Depression has a lot of these distortions.
Okay.
So before we go any further, Aaron Beck, who kind of the father of CBT, talked about the Depressogenic cognitive triad.
It's a big term.
We always use big terms to make us sound smart. Which is basically, let me go ahead and just pull that up. I know it, but just so I don't screw it up. It's negative, so the cognitive triad, the depressogenic cognitive triad, is a person's negative view about themselves, negative view about the world, and negative view about the future.
Okay.
Okay?
And does every person have this?
Well, no, just that's...
This is
with
what
depression,
comes about with depression.
With depression,
okay.
it's very common to have these negative views about self, future, and the world.
Okay.
Okay? Well, we also we love big words, but we also try to simplify things a lot. So in CBT, we also use ABC and DEF, right? Yeah.
Easy as 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right.
You do not want me to break into song.
That sounds like an angel. If you ever read the Bible, you know angels are frightening.
That's awful.
So A stands for antecedent, or we can also call it an activating event. Right?
Okay.
So
yeah.
something that activates something, or an antecedent that comes before something, right? Yeah. A is antecedent. B is belief that comes from that event.
Okay.
And C is the consequence that happens because of the belief. Now, I'm sure I'm not the only person that's done this, but I tend to believe that there are a number of different types of consequences that come from a single belief. Additional belief, or different thoughts, different emotions, different behaviors, different biological experiences, and different spiritual experiences that can all stem from one belief. So let me give an example that I always tell my peeps. Let's take a 10-year-old kid, and it's morning time of their birthday. That's the antecedent or the activating event. Their behavior would be, typically,
the actual behavior?
Yeah, because it's their birthday, 10-year-old kid's birthday. Excited.
That's
hyper.
Not behavior.
Yeah, it is hyper behavior,
okay.
Excitability, right?
Okay.
What would their emotion be? Happy?
Yeah.
So we have the antecedent and the consequence. What is the belief?
That it's their day. It's all about them.
It's all about them, right? Very egocentric, right? Now we have a 99-year-old person, the morning of their birthday, right? Same antecedent, their behavior probably will not be as excitable as a 10-year-old. They might be a little bit more somber, maybe considering some of the people they've lost throughout their life, right? So their emotion may be something totally different. Even though we had the exact same event, what would that 99-year-old's belief be that would cause the consequences of sadness?
They might believe they're going to die tomorrow.
They could die tomorrow. They have no one to celebrate.
Yeah.
You know, same event, different belief, different consequences. That's the concept here.
Okay.
All right. So, this is your exercise. One of the main things after identifying elements of your schema, your thought tendencies, and any automatic thoughts, I'm going to help you identify those automatic thoughts by completing a thought journal. It's a very common exercise given in therapy, and it's where you track your thoughts utilizing the ABC model. An event, so this is the easiest way to do it. If you feel yourself down or depressed, stop, take a look back and say, okay, what happened? You could probably identify your antecedent or your activating event. You know the consequences because you're feeling depressed, and then stop and just think. What is going on in my mind that makes me feel like this? Again, it may be an image, it may be a thought, it may just be this physical sensation. But try to identify what that belief is.
Okay.
I also gave another example here. This will be posted for you. The antecedent that I have here is a breakup or a divorce. The belief about the person is that they're not lovable, which leads to isolation, which is a behavior, which leads to excessive sleep, because they're sad and depressed, want to avoid everything, which is a biological function, leads to a sense of helplessness, which is an emotion and a thought, and potentially wanting to die, which gets into all of them. All right? Now, it is also my belief that each one of those consequences serves as its own activating event. So isolation becomes its... So now we isolate and we start thinking to ourselves, I got no one. Mm-hmm. And that belief that you have no one leads to additional consequences of like desperation and wanting to, anyways. And then that sense of desperation leads to another thought, and that's that cycle, that spiral,
vicious cycle
that happens. So again, I'm going to ask, if you're going to use this, just track those thoughts, and then we'll get into, or why don't we just get into the next section real quick, so we don't have to come back and do D, E, F.
Okay.
So once you track this, then I would normally hand you another sheet that has the automatic thoughts all worked out for you. But then we add the second level, which is the D, E, and F. And D stands for dispute. Dispute or challenge your belief. Answer the question, is this valid? Is it correct or is it distorted? If it's distorted, and you might want to ask people, because if you're depressed, you might just believe it's true. Well, other people say you're an idiot. It's not true. So find out, and if you can, dispute the belief by creating 2 or 3 alternatives, and then experiment with those alternatives. That's the E. D is dispute, E is experiment. So when you start to feel sad, you start thinking to yourself these new thoughts. Well, you know what? It's not that I'm unlovable, it's that I'm going through a hard time right now, and hard times will happen and they will get better.
Or, that guy may not love me, but, I have all these friends that love me. My family loves me. You challenge the belief that way.
She did better than I did.
I did do better than you
that was
did.
much better. And then when you experiment, then you find out what actually is feeling truer and work to incorporate that new belief. And if you do this repeatedly, what happens is you work back down those circles. You start changing your automatic thoughts to change over time your thought tendencies, which ultimately will start changing your schema. You start seeing yourself in a much better light. That schema changes over time, and then the stuff that's getting produced from the schema starts to change.
Clever.
that's basic cognitive behavioral therapy. And there's a lot of things with this, but I just gave you the basics. And yeah, so we'll have this information available for you. I also do recommend, there's tons of great workbooks out there that go through this and a lot of additional exercises.
Well, good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we will continue this, getting into biological, right? We did psychological. We're going to talk about biological issues. Yeah, but we'll continue working through depression, some more exercises like this that you can do throughout the series. So continue to watch for these episodes, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you're getting notifications and all that good stuff. If you like what you see, tell your friends about us. Follow us on all the platforms. We're out there. Yeah, but hopefully this was helpful for you. We'd love to hear your feedback. If there's questions you have or, whatever, let us know. Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.